Police officer Geir Thorisson is on an evening patrol in downtown Reykjavik.
Here, in the
downtown area here, there are more than 400 bars. That's a lot. Iceland capital, with its population of 120,000, has possibly more bars per inhabitant than any other capital in the world, with a capacity of 25,000 guests. The last few weekends, there has been a clear increase in drunken brawls and violence. The hardest thing is to maintain a degree of order so that disturbances don't turn into a disaster. After the country's economy collapsed in the beginning of October, the police here have been very busy. According to the police statistics, there has also been an increase in theft, burglaries and other crime, a worrying development for Officer Thorisson and his colleagues.
August, September og October hafði ökast.
Yes, we had an increase in crime all the way from August to October. The times are such that we may have an even further increase. There's been an increase in break-ins and burglaries.
There's
a profound anxiety amongst the people. They don't know what will happen next. Will they lose their work, their cars, their houses? People are telling us about these things all the time. When the national banks collapsed, several thousand Icelanders found themselves unemployed overnight. Here as elsewhere, the police are first to meet the anger and despair amongst the population. During the past weekends, thousands have taken to the streets to protest against their government and allege corruption amongst bank managers. For the first time in history in this tiny nation, leading politicians and businessmen are now protected by armed guards. Police are anticipating an escalation of these street protests in the near future.
Pressuren så mye her i hela.
The pressure is so great that a tiny spark may set off an explosion amongst the protesters. We have information on individuals who plan to go even further. Basically, they want to take down the entire administration, sack the parliament. It's right after 11 in the evening, and the crowd is getting bigger in the downtown bars, even though it's only Tuesday. Bartender Ludvig Ludvigsson has more than enough work, but ironically, he doesn't see this as a positive thing in the current climate.
Ser du mye av at folk kommer inn for å...
Are more and more people coming in here to drown their worries in alcohol? Yes, they sure do. When the Landisank Bank went down, it was particularly bad. A lot of people came in here and said it was all over for them. It was not easy being a bartender then. Soon we'll have 10,000 more people without jobs here, and I'm not looking forward to that. People will come in here and want beer because they feel their lives are just finished. Iceland is a small society where everybody knows each other. A society where growth happened way too fast and the wealth came a bit too easily. For 9 years I worked in this bank. It was a nice place to work. It was the job of my dreams. Up until a few weeks ago, Geir Thorisson had a safe job in a prosperous business. Landsbanki was one of 3 big Icelandic banks that had engaged in an uncontrolled loaning spree abroad. When the international credit crunch hit, they had accumulated loans worth 12 times the nation's GDP. When the banks defaulted, the state had to take over their debts, worth more than $60 billion. And now you have no job anymore? That's right. And what happens next? Of course, I have to start looking for a job here in Iceland. But this year, up to 1,000 bank employees have lost their jobs. Everybody is looking for a job and there simply aren't enough jobs to be found. 1,000 bank employees may not sound like a lot, but in this tiny nation, that equals 20% of all employees in the financial sector. Kjartan and his colleagues were hit twice by the bank collapse. Most of them invested large parts of their wages in bank stocks. That money is now gone. On average, each employee owned from $40,000 to $70,000 in stocks in their own banks.
Är du bitter?
How do you feel about that? Are you bitter? No, what happened to us was a catastrophe.
Och det är liksom en tsunami som kom över Island. Det är så att det är liksom att
Like a financial tsunami hit Iceland. When a natural disaster hits, you can't do anything about it. You become a part of it and just have to try and survive. Today, it's practically impossible to get a new loan in Iceland. Construction of new houses has come to a complete stop. The new half-finished opera house at Reykjavik, previously a hectic construction site, is next to abandoned. And here in the capital's harbour, 5,000 cars are sitting and waiting for importers who have no chance of paying for them.
Devaluation of the krona means that the loans has gone up 80%, interest rates close to 24%, and then business down 95%. So.
Car importer Knut Hauksson is now trying to dump his stock of several thousand new and used cars at giveaway prices in Eastern Europe.
It's not a question of profit, it's a question of reducing your stock. And if you asked me a few months ago if I could export used car to Poland, you know, I would ask you, no, what drugs are you taking?
Iceland has probably been hit harder by the credit crunch than any other country in the world. Many Icelanders now spend their time contemplating what went wrong and what will come next. Many seek comfort in religion, and Parish Minister Palmi Matthiasson has experienced a busy few weeks.
Everybody is affected because some of the kids, they listen to the people whispering in the nighttime when they think their kids are asleep. They are talking about the job, maybe selling their houses and how they can manage to go into the next days. And the kids, they are not willing to speak about it. They are afraid to get different and difficult answers from the parents, so they are not feeling well.
Several times a day, the minister hosts therapy sessions for businesses, unemployed people and for children. The hardest part is trying to give people a sense of meaning in a hopeless situation, says Matthiasson.
Maybe we have not seen the bottom yet, but if we are going to go lower, we have to stand much closer to one another, and we have to be stronger, and we have to fight to lift us up again.
Come January, the Icelandic people will face the full impact of their nation's bankruptcy, with the Arctic winter at its darkest, bills impossible to pay, and an estimated unemployment of up to 10%. The authorities of this island nation are prepared for the worst, but Minister Matthiasson still believes something good might come out of this crisis.
We can learn, and we can figure out a new future, because the greed was taking over, and now we are learning the hard way. And I always have the feeling that God never closes a door without opening a window.